Our movie begins with a man named Andy. He's on his way to his restaurant where he's a partner. While heading there, he leaves a recorded message for his wife apologizing for missing their son's competition because he was busy. Once Andy arrives at the restaurant, he finds a food inspector named Jimmy. Jimmy is observing everyone working in the kitchen, examining the kitchen itself and taking notes. Jimmy tells Andy that he needs to speak with him privately. They sit down alone and Jimmy informs Andy that the restaurant's rating has dropped from 5 stars to 3. This decline is due to the chef's negligence in cooking, improper fridge temperatures, and several other issues. Jimmy advises Andy to sort out the chaos in the kitchen and mentions that he will follow up in 3 months. If the problems are resolved, the rating could return to 5 stars. After Jimmy leaves, Andy talks to the chefs, informing them that the restaurant's rating dropped to 3 stars because of their negligence. He starts arguing with them, reminding them that many chefs would love to have their jobs. Andy calms down and asks Carly what items they have in stock. Carly tells him they are short on some items like lamb and turbot fish. Andy gets upset because turbot is very expensive and they had plenty of it. Freeman then explains that he cooked the turbot yesterday but forgot about it. Andy remembers this and apologizes to everyone. Carly then asks Andy if he talked to the manager about her pay raise since she received another good job offer. Andy tells her that he did speak to the manager and is waiting for a response. After that, the manager gathers all the chefs and tells them that today is a big day. It's going to be an extremely busy and they're expecting 100 customers, so everything needs to be organized. She also mentions there will be a marriage proposal at table 13 and that the famous chef Alistair Skye will be dining with them. She warns Freeman to keep his voice down, especially with the swearing. After the meeting, Andy talks to the manager and tells her he's upset that Alistair is coming today and she didn't tell him earlier. He explains that the place isn't suitable for his visit today and he's not prepared. However, the manager encourages him, saying his cooking is great and Alistair will surely like it. The whole team then heads into the kitchen. Everyone feels nervous about the expected crowd and they start preparing the food. Andy encourages them and says he will help out. At that moment, his son calls to him he won first place. Andy congratulates him and ends the call because Robin, the waitress, has arrived. He wants to ask her why she was late and she explains that it was due to the train. When someone asks her how her acting audition went, she denies having attended it. Robin then takes the order from table 7, treats the customers kindly, and tells them she'll be serving them today. However, Andrea ends up delivering their food. The customer gets annoyed by the change of waitresses, speaks rudely to Andrea, and embarrasses her, asking her to leave. Later, Andy goes to check on Maria and finds her very upset because she's washing dishes alone since Jake hasn't arrived yet. Andy tries to calm her down. When Jake finally shows up, he finds Maria yelling and arguing with him, so Andy gives Maria a 10-minute break. As Andy leaves the kitchen, he is surprised to see the restaurant is packed and they're struggling to keep up with the orders. At this moment, Alistair arrives with a food expert named Sarah. Andy gets nervous and Alistair asks him to have a drink with them. Sarah assures Andy they are just there to eat, not to review. Andy tells them he's busy and needs to get back to work. He goes to the kitchen and informs the team that Sarah is there. They get upset because she's a harsh critic and the entire team has to work quickly to keep up with the orders. While getting some duck sauce, Andy burns his hand and the sauce spills on the floor. Frustrated by his injury, Andy starts swearing. The manager comes in and starts arguing with Andy because she had warned everyone not to raise their voices or swear. He explains that he burned his hand, which is why he shouted. At that moment, Jake asks Andy to go take out the trash and Andy agrees. However, in reality, he was going outside to get drugs from someone waiting for him outside the restaurant. He then returns to the kitchen. Meanwhile, Andrea goes to take the orders from table 20 where there are social media influencers. They ask for a steak, but she informs them it's not on the menu today. They get upset and ask to speak to the manager. The manager approaches them, speaks to them kindly, and assures them she will get their order. She then goes to the kitchen and requests 3 steaks, but the team tells her there is no steak available right now as it's all for tomorrow's menu. Andy agrees to cook 3 pieces himself and everyone gets upset with him. He tells them he will handle it personally and asks Freeman to cut the steaks for him. A bit later, Andrea returns with the dish from table 7 as the customers complain that the meat isn't cooked properly. When Freeman and Curly look at the dish, they're confused because the meat is supposed to be served that way. Freeman gets angry and wants to talk to the customers, but Andy tells him to just cook it again. The manager comes over and scolds them, telling them not to make mistakes and to be more careful. Carly gets upset and tells the manager that the wait shift is to blame and that they're the ones who get punished, all for a small salary. She also tells the manager that nobody here likes her. The manager then breaks breaks down and goes to the bathroom where she sends a message to her father telling him that nobody likes her there and asking him to call her as soon as he hears the voicemail. Meanwhile, Alistair was trying to find something wrong with the food and Sarah was surprised by his critical approach because she thinks the food was good. Andy eventually approaches Alistair and places another dish on the table, but Alistair keeps criticizing the food. Andy asks him why he's here. Alistair explains that he tried to contact Andy many times but got no response, so he had to come in person. He mentions he's running out of money and wants the $200,000 he lent to Andy. Andy tells him he doesn't have the money right now. Alistair then suggests partnering in the restaurant, promising that Sarah will give them good reviews. Andy responds he only owns a 30% share. Before they can continue, Sarah interrupts and Andy's son calls him, so he steps away to answer the call. At that moment, the girl at table 13 was having a severe allergic reaction to nuts. Andy quickly ends the call with his son and rushes to her. The girl's boyfriend starts arguing with Andy. Alistair advises Andy to blame Carly for the nuts to avoid punishment. The ambulance arrives and helps the girl. Afterwards, Andy goes to the kitchen and gathers the cooking team, asking them about the dish's ingredients. Carly assures him that nothing from what was served at the table contained nuts. They figured that it was Andy's fault the food was contaminated. Freeman got fed up, shouting at the manager for being ruthless, selfish person and lambasting Andy for his constant lateness and mistakes along with his alcohol and drugs using. Andy gets mad and moves towards Freeman to hit him, but the team holds him back. Everyone leaves and Carly stays behind to calm Andy down. Andy reveals to Carly that Alistair wanted him to lay the blame on her and apologizes for her because he actually thought about it. She tells him she's tired of covering up for his messes every day. She also tells him she's going to accept the other job offer she received. Andy apologizes to her and then goes to his office where he drinks vodka and snorts cocaine. He calls his ex-wife and asks her to tell his son he loves him and that he will go to rehab. After ending the call, Andy throws away the drugs and alcohol and gets up on his way to return to the kitchen. Before leaving the room, he collapses due to the overdose he had. The staff's voices were the last thing he heard as they were calling his name. And that's it. If you like this recap, hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to keep seeing content like this one. If you have any requests or thoughts, drop them below in the comment section and we will see you at the next one. Peace out!